Hello, everyone. This is another episode of the DefDevice podcast with me, Dano Falk, founder and e-commerce consultant at DefDevice. And today, my very special guest is Mr. Daniel Bernbeck. Welcome, Mr. Daniel.
Thank you, Dano, for having me.
Yeah, we have been doing quite a few things together. We are almost neighbors here in Kuala Lumpur. We did a little wheelie session last Sunday where we both were trying to ride on one wheel on our motorbikes. And I must say, Daniel is much ahead of me in this technique. My bike did not really mount very much. But so we live in the same city and we know each other for a while. And today I wanted to open the stage for you, Daniel, to explain, to share with people what was your life journey. But first of all, what are you doing today? You are the CEO of MGCC. Please translate for those who are not familiar with these terms, what that means. Yes,
Yeah,
it's on the t-shirt right there.
You see it on my corporate t-shirt. Yeah, this is not the Malaysia Golf and Country Club. This is the Malaysian German Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The I is missing for being a bit more convenient and short. We left the I of our last word of our initials off from our logo. So it is, the chamber is known as MGCC, Malaysian German Chamber of Commerce. And it is the official representative of the German economy in Malaysia. We are a business association. We have corporate members, 400 over companies. And we are by far, you are one of them, exactly. That's mainly one reason why we know each other, why we work together. But that's not the only one. The other one you already mentioned earlier. Yes, we are by far the largest European business association here in Malaysia. And we represent a big group of German investors and trading partners that are dealing and working in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what you guys doing here is quite impressive. I attended the AGM meeting last week, and you were sharing some really impressive numbers of how much business from Germany is coming to Malaysia these days, and how many companies are like opening shop here and investing in Malaysia. So, and you are kind of the middleman who makes this possible and who helps them along the way. So there's a lot. I think what you guys doing has a large impact on the Malaysian economy, and also for German companies who are looking to to open shop in Asia and specifically Malaysia. So yes. It's a big deal.
Yeah, Germany is Malaysia's most important and biggest trading partner in the EU, and Malaysia is Germany's biggest trading partner in ASEAN, in the region, which many people simply seem to forget. Everybody thinks of Singapore in this region, of Vietnam, Indonesia, because of its size of population. But Malaysia being so much smaller by population compared to Vietnam and Indonesia, for instance, has a trading volume of almost 20 billion euros with Germany. So it's in fact an important player in this region. And this region itself, because of its 660 million people altogether, this Southeast Asian region, has not only already been very important in the past for Europe and for Germany as one of the strongest economies in Europe, but it also is growing in importance because, of course, of the geostrategic changes, the political tensions sometimes, also the impact of the pandemic. All of that plays into the cards of this region because it's a young, average age is quite young compared to Germany. It's a growing population, it's a growing economy, and it's promising because it has a lot of very important aspects in favor of investing and trading with Malaysia in particular. One reason is, for instance, English language, because this is the unofficial official language, or it's kind of the official language, but not officially, because Bahasa Malaysia is, of course, the official language, but for business community, English is the lingua franca, so everybody is able to communicate in English, and that's very helpful for foreign investors.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I'm not an investor, but this was one of the reasons also why I settled down here 10 years ago, because simply you can communicate with everyone. Like other than in other countries in Southeast Asia, it's not that easy. Like in Thailand, if you go to the tourist spots, yes, people speak English, but I think otherwise not so much. So yeah, Malaysia is a very interesting and in Europe maybe not so known, not so well known country, but as you said, it's the biggest business partner. And yeah, there's a lot going on, and I'm also quite happy to be member of this chamber, because these 400 members, you get to meet people from all industries, and it's quite amazing. My favorite is the sundowner, as you know. But yeah, it's I really appreciate that you guys are here and doing what you're doing. But I know that there's much more to Daniel than, I mean, just is not the fair word, but to be the CEO of MGCC, I think it's a big deal. But I know that you have come a long way, and you have traveled the world, and you have lived in Iran and so many places. And this is the part that I would love to hear from you today. Let's go back in time, Daniel, and meet the 10-year-old Daniel and see what was going on in his life.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey, in fact, and it is it is really something that you can connect the dots along that. If I go back to my 10 years age, it was exactly the year when we moved to Iran.
Oh.
And so I was born in Germany, in Wiesbaden, the center left, western Germany, close to Frankfurt, in a beautiful city, an old Roman bath with hot wells and all of that. So it was the place where my father used to work. And then in 1972, he packed the 4 kids that we were, I'm the oldest, in one Volkswagen station wagon, a red mini VW bus. Mm-hmm. And we set sail, and we drove to Iran by land. So we crossed the Balkan and Turkey, and
you
arrived
drove
in Iran
to Iran in 72. Yes. See, that's the part I'm already missing. I didn't know you drove there.
Yes. My father, and the fact was that my parents had never visited Iran. My father took the job without ever having been to this country. He applied. Today you would say he applied online. No, he did not apply online. He did apply to an office of the German churches in Germany. They took him as a candidate to Iran. There was no competitor. He was the only candidate. So the church council in Tehran agreed to this application, and he was hired for that job, and he canceled his enrollment in the German church in Wiesbaden, and then we packed the bus and we left for Iran, and we drove like 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, all the way with kids. My youngest brother, he was 3 years old. He was literally on a mattress. He was lying on the luggage. Today you would not allow that, but he was like a torpedo in a waiting position. So should we hit something, he would go through the front windshield. So we were driving with 4 kids, 6 packs in that minibus, all the way to Iran. And we arrived in Iran in 1972. That was literally the year or 1973, there was this OPEC oil price increase, which led to empty streets in Germany, traffic-free Sundays, no autobahn, no traffic on the streets to save energy. We are kind of in a similar situation eventually today. At that time, they simply blocked the traffic on the streets because it was getting so expensive to buy petrol from the oil-rich countries of the Persian Gulf. Iran, as one of the founding members of OPEC, was suddenly not only a rich country, but it also was the most important, or became the most important trading partner for Germany, next to a non-European trading partner after the US. So it was suddenly the place to be. Everybody who moved to Iran, it was a boom town. It was in 1974, 1975, also there there was a crisis in Beirut, in Lebanon. So many companies left Lebanon and moved to Iran because it was the more friendly and safe place. So I grew up in a time when like Iran was booming. The Shah Pahlavi Shah, he was ruling at that time, and it was very much pro-Western, pro-US. And we had a huge German school there. We had like literally every school year, we had completely new friends, huge numbers of people coming, families moving in, and our community was also booming. It was really, for a 10-year-old boy like me, it was a wonderful country with impressive and incredible countryside, the high mountains, the blue skies, skiing in winter, and hot summers, 45, 48 degrees, but very dry. We had a swimming pool in the garden to get some cooling off in the afternoon hours. So it was an incredibly beautiful time, a wonderful place to be, and still is, of course, what most people would say their childhood is kind of it's something like an utopia thing. You always remember, and it is so pure,
romantic.
and so romantic. Yes.
Yeah, the amazing part is that we had like a similar experience at the same age, because I moved from Kyrgyzstan to Germany when I was 10 years old. So it was kind of a similar distance the other way. And you also kind of completely changed your environment age 10. And I can relate to what a big shift that is. You know, you leave behind your culture, your friends, your family members, and you come to a completely new environment with a new language, climate, everything is different. So this is an experience we have in common.
Yeah, but it also shows, and I hope we have never shared. Maybe I should do the podcast the other way around. You will be answering my questions one day.
Someday.
Because I hope, and I assume that you had the similar experience, how important it is to have the closest family members together, moving from one place to another. You can do wonders. You can do almost everything if you have your family together. Imagine you would be sent over to Germany alone. Imagine me going to Iran, or like many of the refugees, they drop out of some airplane or some bus or some train in a completely unknown environment. That is a nightmare and a traumatic experience. In my case, it was paradise. The family was together. We were all there. We were all happy. Everybody liked to be there. Everybody wanted to be moving to Iran. And it still is like absolutely unique. And I still remember every year, I think on the 10th of September, it is always the jubilee or the anniversary of our moving to Iran. So we arrived on the 10th of September, 1972 to Tehran.
Oh.
For me, 10th of September is still the anniversary of our arrival in Iran, which, and that's what I said earlier, it has a kind of direct line to my job today and my position today, because it was the first time that I experienced being a foreigner in an international environment, which is not my home country, not my own culture, and it influenced me extremely until today, and it has changed my life forever. So this 10 years memory is kind of an absolute life-changing event, and it has kind of set all the game and all the rules for my later decisions in life, for profession and for job and for education, and also my attitude towards culture and language and people. And that is what I'm doing today as a CEO of an organization which is multicultural in itself, because we are in Malaysia. Of course, we have all ethnic groups in here. We have also the German community in our team. I'm not the only one running this organization. I have 30 staff members supporting me, and I'm supporting them. And it is exactly like kind of the thing that I wanted to do after having experienced it in my younger age, how it is to build these bridges between my own culture and the culture around me, and to allow people from the culture around me to get to know me with full respect and friendly approach, and that is what I'm trying to do every single day.
There we go. So we picked the exact right age, I guess. 10 years. That was the time when your life completely changed, and you moved
Exactly.
to Iran. What was the
Yeah.
next big decision you had to make in your life after living for quite some time in Iran, I guess?
I think there was maybe the biggest decision was factually coming back to Germany after the 9 years. Then we stayed in Iran until 1981. There was a very exciting moment. I remember until today that I came back to Germany. I was like 18 years old. I had to still finish school. I felt like a bit of a foreigner in my home country, even though I looked like everybody else, and it was not like any kind of distinction. My clothes, my blue jeans, my sweatshirts looked like everybody else's outfit, but my way of doing things was a bit different. At that time, I didn't know why, and I didn't understand where it came from. But I thought everybody is an individual. Everybody has a different way of doing things. So the same goes for me. And then there was this very special moment that I was asked by a consultant from the local labor office of my hometown, Offenbach am Main, next to Frankfurt, where I did my final years in school. And my father had taken up the job of a pastor in that church over there. And there was this guy there was a green book, I remember until today, with all the kind of professions, educational offerings like technical vocational education and training, TVET, also the top subjects of university education, all of that. And you were supposed to be preparing yourself. You had to read through that book. And then you had, like a week later, you had a meeting with that consultant, and you should tell him whether you had found something or whether you need advice or consultancy from him and to guide you. And I walked into that room. I remember it was the opposite building from our school. I walked into that room. The guy said, "Did you find something?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to study law." "Okay, you want to become a lawyer?" And I said, No, I want to become the head of a German chamber abroad. And it is abbreviated. It is abbreviated AHK, AHK. I want to become the Geschäftsführer of a AHK. And he said, "Of a what?" I said, a chamber abroad. And he didn't know what that is. And I said, "You don't have to worry. You don't have to bother. I know what it is because I know it from Iran. That's what I want to do." And I was like 18, 19 years old.
Wow. So
And
age
I
18, you
decided,
had this
yes,
vision to become the chairman, the CEO of MGCC, basically, or
basically,
something like that.
of exactly.
Wow.
And the most, or maybe there was a smaller decision before that, because that what happened was during the Islamic Revolution in Iran. I decided together with my father, my mother, and some other family members, because we were quite a number of Bernbecks in Iran at that time, to take Farsi lessons. So we were going to the Goethe Institute, the German Cultural Institute in Tehran. Not like the 99% of the people there were learning German. We were the Germans learning Farsi, Iranian, the Persian language, in that Goethe Institute. So at that time already, I decided to take a special interest and to focus on that knowledge of language, of culture, of writing and reading. And there was some kind of a logic behind it. I felt like I had been spending 9 years of my life in that country. I had picked up the language. I have gained knowledge about their culture and their society, and I didn't want to let it go just because we knew we would one day leave back to Germany, and I would probably lose all the skills. But I already knew that that would be a loss. That would be a kind of a sad experience. So I wanted to enhance my knowledge and my abilities to read and write Farsi. So when I came back to Germany, that was already kind of a logic decision to also think, yes, I want to go back international. I want to live outside of Germany. I want to work outside of Germany. I already at that age felt I'm not a German in that sense. I'm local. I'm
Hmm.
a globalist. I'm a person that is
Yeah.
happy and I feel the exciting experience of international life, and I wanted to continue doing that. And
Hmm.
the decision of to which subject to choose and which profession to choose was only the consequence of that attitude.
Hmm. Wow, that's amazing. So you came back and you already knew that you want to follow this path, and you are
Yes.
like a global citizen. You're not the German. Same here, by the way. That's why we are not in Germany.
Well, we are
And you
Baxarians.
actually, yeah, yeah, and you follow this path, and you kind of manifested your vision. I mean, that's another amazing part, because many people have some kind of visions, but then they don't come true. But yours manifested exactly more or less the way you wanted it. So you went on to study law, and then I think your next step was to actually take a position in, where was it? It was in Iran.
No, there is, of course, I'm too old for only having two, three incidents in life making
Yeah,
any meaning. Or so, of course,
I
there was
know.
different. There was different things as well, but one of them was that as a legal intern, because German legal education is twofold. You have one theoretical education in university, then you have a practical education in the judicial system and the administration and all of that. And then there's one part where you can choose. And I chose a German chamber abroad for an internship.
Mhm.
Iran was, of course, my first choice, but they didn't take me for visa reasons. And then I replaced it with Mexico City. So I went to the German chamber in Mexico. Not
Oh,
only had I studied Spanish in the university, so I could use that. My girlfriend at that time, she also studied in Mexico at that time, so we moved over to Mexico together. And then I start the first time I put my foot into a German chamber abroad. I didn't have any experience before that, even though I still had that vision, and it almost came true to stay in this chamber in Mexico. But then certain things happened that I couldn't continue working there, and I had to come back to Germany, start my job, my career somewhere else. But I never gave up on that kind of a vision or dream
mhm.
until like literally 25 years, a quarter century later, from that first statement of mine saying that I would like to become the head of a chamber abroad, that in 2007, and it was literally exactly 25 years later, that I got the offer to become the head of the chamber in Tehran, in Iran. And I thought, this is amazing. How could you ever imagine things like that falling into place like that? That I get the offer to run the chamber where I had this vision from. So even though I had never set foot into that chamber in Tehran, in the office in the 1970s, but that was of course, the example that I had in my mind. I wanted to become a lawyer working abroad, a German lawyer working abroad. I didn't know many examples. I knew the family of the founder of the chamber in Iran. They were lawyers, and he was running this chamber. And I said, this is exactly this kind of job I would like to do. And factually, I became his successor
Mm.
in 2007. So we returned to exactly the city where I grew up. Of course, it had changed over time, but it was the place, the mountains, everything, the smell, the noises, everything was still there, like in the old days. And I also lived in the same quarter of the city where I grew up. I
Mhm.
could walk to the church
Wow.
where my father used to preach, and my daughter was having her confirmation ceremony in the same church where I was having my confirmation ceremony in
Mhm.
1977, and hers was in 2014. So that's a crazy coincidence.
Oh,
And
yeah. Is
I
it a
put all this thought.
coincidence, or is it some kind of, it to me it sounds more like a plan made in
Like
heaven, or I
karma.
don't know, or yeah, whatever. I mean, it's a bit too much for just a coincidence. I mean, come on. I mean, you had this vision and it manifested in a way that is like so particular. I mean, you came to the same place and you become exactly the guy you wanted to be. It's to me
Yeah,
this is a fascinating part in life. You know, it's I don't think it's appropriate to call this a coincidence. I think there's more to it, right?
Yeah, there should be, as a religious person, as a son of a pastor, and as a Christian believer, I would say yes, there is, of course, there is a plan. But we also say in Germany, we plan and God decides. So it's not us deciding. We plan and we might aspire to become a whatever CEO of a German chamber, if you wish. Whether it happens requires more than just your idea and your dream and maybe your strong will of achieving it. The more fascinating, personally, the more fascinating element of it is not me getting this job, because factually, again, like my father in 1972, I didn't have much of a competition. There was not so many German lawyers speaking Farsi being ready to go into Iran in 2007, where the American president was literally on the point of attacking the country and putting or opening a big war, a military conflict with Iran, because he was on the impression that the attack on Iraq was so successful that, of course, we just take the next country next door also by storm. So it was a time where people were really not sure whether this would be a safe place to be, and who is daring enough to just pack and leave and go to live in Iran. And my wife, my family, and myself, of course, because I had been there. I had seen the Iran-Iraq war. In the 2 years of the Iran-Iraq war, I have been living there, so I was not scared of that, because I also found it completely unrealistic that the US would really attack Iran. And until today, I think history has proven right that there is no military attack on Iran yet. Hopefully, there will never be. But so we moved there, and the more impressive, honestly, the more impressive and the more breathtaking element of it is that having waited 25 years, having thought of this job as my dream job for 25 years, the more breathtaking experience was that I found out that it in fact is my dream job, that it is not an imagination, that living my dream and doing what I thought I could be doing, what I never did before, and I've never experienced it. I just had thought of it. It became true that it is every day, every single day until today. It's now 16 years that I'm doing it in two different places, one in Iran, now in Malaysia. It has been proven true that it is exactly the best fitting job I can ever imagine. I wouldn't wish to do anything else a single day.
Wow. That is
something you cannot
very
decide.
blessed.
I feel it is a blessing. You cannot make it happen. You go into that job and you find out. Nobody could have told me how it would be in being in that position, and it turns out that it is exactly what I wanted to do.
So you didn't have the chance to test it. You just had it in your mind, and it came true, and it turned out to be the exact right thing for you.
Yeah, and imagine normally you don't have at age 18, you don't have a full, unless you follow the job of your father maybe, or your hobby. If you are like I don't know, if you are into horses and you are from early age, you play with horses, you treat horses, you ride horses, and you become a veterinarian specializing on horses, then you exactly know what you're doing, because you know it from I don't know when. In my case, I had never been in that position, and that's really something that still keeps me in awe, because I don't understand why it is that way. It is not logical.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated with how things manifest and what it takes for things to manifest, how long it takes sometimes for something to manifest, like in your case, and also to understand better like why certain things do manifest and others don't. But you are a living example of a dream manifesting. It took quite some time to do so. So I guess patience is one of the things that we need to apply here. but also, you know, to see it manifest in such a beautiful way, and for you to be exactly where you want to be in your life. I think that is really awesome to witness and to see.
We have that example of Chancellor Helmut Kohl with this metaphor of der Mantel der Geschichte, so the overcoat of history, like swinging by, and you have to grab it, and then the history takes you. So he obviously, the reunification of Germany was kind of a unique moment in time. Had he hesitated, or had he and his team and his government, his cabinet hesitated, had he not been able to convince the allies like the Margaret Thatcher and the Americans and even also the Russians to discuss how to allow Germany to reunite with Eastern Germany, it would not have been possible. And sometimes it's like that. You just have to be the person in the right moment, and then not hesitate and just grab the opportunity, grab life by the horns, take it and move. But it is more than that. It is also, again, kind of a situation which you cannot influence. You just have to be ready to do it. And one more element, you also have to be blessed with the right partner. If you are in a partnership with your spouse or your friend or whatever partner, you have to have the right person there. A father of 3 kids, married to my wife, if she would have said no, I wouldn't have been able to take this job. Had she said, I don't go into a country where I have to wear a headscarf, mandatory headscarf. That's not a place I want to be as a woman, as a German. We don't go there. And I asked her, why did you agree? Why did you agree to follow me? Why did you agree to accompany me into that country? Why didn't you say no? And she said, I would have killed you, because I would have stopped you from pursuing and achieving your life's dream.
Yeah.
She was willing to sacrifice kind of this European liberties and freedom of a woman. Of course, she also gains, or she achieved like a widening horizon, a huge experience in her life. She could have stayed in Mainz, which is across from Wiesbaden, where I was born. I was literally at my birthplace. So she could have said, no, we stay there. It's more convenient. We know everything. But she also agreed that we would move, and she would support me in that. And it kind of spoiled us. Now we are in a situation where we both agree we will never consider moving back to Germany. So for me, that has been true for almost all my life. For my wife, it only became true because we left Germany and lived abroad, and now she's as spoiled as I am.
And she rides a Ducati.
Yes.
And she rides I think she and I are the only owners of that particular model of Ducati in KL, as far as I know. So there is a very unique connection between her and me as well. Yeah. Man. I don't know if your story is so unique and so fascinating. I would really like to dig deeper, like, why is this, like, how, but I think it's only to a certain extent that we can understand why things happen, and like the tools and the tactics that we can utilize. But if you had to give like your son a piece of advice, how to live his life successfully and how to make his dream come true, what would you say to him?
I think there is maybe a very German or very Protestant even attitude to life, and it is a question of kind of a consciousness of what you are, who you are, where you are, why are you doing this? Why is it happening to me? Like you are questioning God or you are questioning destiny. It is more or less your consciousness of your own behavior, your actions, even your thoughts and your words. It is a question of responsibility and of taking ownership and acting in responsible behaviors. And it means, it leads for me to that very common saying, don't dream your life, live your dream. I would say, if you, from that context that we have been talking about here, I would say, whatever you do it consciously and know what you want. Determine, make up your mind, express or develop a kind of an understanding what you want and where you want to be heading, and take ownership of and responsibility for that. If you want to do that, if you want to become like one of my sons, he wants to become a truck driver. If you want to become a truck driver, do it consciously. Don't stumble into that kind of development, like partly willing and not willing, but just it happens and not being your own decision. Make it your own decision and do it consciously and take responsibility for it with all consequences it might have, unwanted ones maybe. And if you have a dream, make sure that you get as close as you can ever get to it. Because as I can say from my experience, as I said earlier, I'm kind of not working in a job. I'm kind of just, how we say, externalizing what is in me. Like I'm just pouring out whatever I have in my inner self, and I'm even paid for that. So I'm doing something that is considered like a hobby, because it's kind of me, and maybe you have experienced that, because I have this networking approach. I'm a networker, and my job is networking. So my job, I'm paid for being a networker, but I'm also a networker just being me, and I can just express my identity, my personality, and I just continue doing that. So it doesn't cost me much. So I'm really in that absolutely desirable position of being living my dream. With all, of course, I would have maybe imagined to be the son of a billionaire and not having to work at all for money, so I could just wake up in the morning and ride my motorcycle into the sunset. I don't know whether I really could imagine calling this a fulfilling life. I don't know. I've never. I'm not in a position to explore that, because I'm not the son of a billionaire. I'm a son of a pastor. But so I'm happy to be paid as much as I need to live a nice life with my family. It's okay. It's fine. You don't have to worry for much. But that's not the important point. The important point is that I can just simply feel it is like effortless. It is just waking up in the morning and not having to push myself to work. It just pours out of me, because I like to do it. That is the blessing of it all. That is when you achieve, you live your dream. Then it's effortless. You just breathe in, you breathe out, and you just do what you do. And that's, I would say, if the best piece of advice. It's not an advice. It is more an attitude thing. It is not something that you can do and then just suddenly everything falls into place. It is something. It's an attitude towards life, and it has something to do with responsibility and consciousness. And it is an ethical and even, I would say, religious attitude to life. And what does it mean to live? And what does it mean to be gifted with brains and consciousness and ability to choose and take responsibility for all the consequences of your action, both socially, personally, morally, in all dimensions.
That is really deep stuff, man. And I really love the point that when it's effortless, then maybe you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. To follow our passion, I mean, as you said, you don't feel like you have a job. You're just living your passion. You're living who you are, and you're just expressing yourself, and you're getting paid for it. I mean, that's as good as it gets, I guess. Yeah. So you're a very lucky boy, Daniel. But I guess it's not just luck. It also has something to do with, with your perseverance, your persistence, your determination to kind of, to have this dream come true after 25 years. So it takes a lot of patience and intelligence to kind of hang in there and to make this happen. I mean, not that you were suffering these 25 years, but still, I mean, I've seen you like working in the Chamber of Commerce, and I think it's kind of obvious how you are just being who you are, and who are just naturally good at what you do. And every time you speak, it's, everything just feels so natural, and it just, it's not, yeah, as you said, it doesn't feel like somebody is like trying hard and working hard to do this. It's like, it's easy. Yeah, it comes across as easy and natural, and I think that is a very beautiful place to be in our lives, if what we have to do every day comes easy.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Is.
There we go. I think I have a title for our session already. It should come easy. Look for the stuff that comes easy.
It's not always easy. Of course, you have to wait. Yeah. You have to be ready for that. It takes time. Sometimes it is early, sometimes it's later.
Sometimes it's hard to come to a place.
It's hard to wait. So it's not always easy to be. Also, of course, the job has some hardship eventually, but it is not the job itself. It's maybe the surrounding conditions eventually.
Yeah, right.
They can be overcome if you have the bottom line has to be positive.
Wow, that was an amazing session, Mr. Daniel. I really appreciate your sharing, and even as a friend of yours, I learned a lot of things that I didn't really know. So, I mean, it was an amazing sharing. If you have any closing words, something you would like to share with the listeners, this will be the time. Otherwise, we would just call it a podcast.
No, thank you for giving me the chance for a last word. But that is, again, I don't want to put my personal private life in the center of the attention here. But I would honestly say, please contact me if you have any questions regarding Malaysia or business in Malaysia. And I'm happy to help out on every aspect. That's why I'm here. That's why we know each other. It's not... we are not here because we are bikers. We are here because we are kind of related in a sense. Motorcycling is one element of it, but another one is maybe the more important one than the hobbies is this kind of a setting of a German chamber abroad. And me and my team, we are happy to connect whenever it's necessary.
Yes, of course. And I will include your links, whatever you would like the audience to use in the description under this video. So feel free to reach out to Daniel if you have any questions about, opening shop in Malaysia, coming from a different country. And he and his team have a lot of knowledge and experience about how to do this, and have helped a lot of people along the way. So thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you for your sharing. Thanks for being here. And we stay in touch, and see you soon.
See you soon. And keep the rubber side down.
Yeah.